All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi, all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in a state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Now, page 6. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. Vajra Samaja, Vajra Samaja, Vajra Samaja. Protectors of all sentient beings without exception, deities who vanquish the ruthless hordes of Maras, knowers of everything as it is. Bhagawans and your retinues, please come here. Argyam padyam pushpe dupe aloke gende nivede shabda praticha soha. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, for continent, sun, and moon I hold in mind as a Buddha land, and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure realm. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete bodhi. Let body and mind settle in their own places. Body settling in the way of the posture of Vairocana, checking in with all the 7 points that are often identified for the posture of Vairocana. Starting with your legs, place in a stable position. Stable and balanced, which the cross-legged of the Vajra position, also known as the full lotus, is said to be the most stable, but however you're able to sit, that is comfortable, you sit in that way. But be sure that it is balanced. Be sure that that way of sitting minimizes your need to keep shifting, keep changing, keep fidgeting. With an upright body, chest open, shoulders open but relaxed, with your chin pulled in, eyes gazing downwards with a soft gaze, not closed. Hands held in the meditation posture. And your lips and teeth touching with the tongue placed on your palate. When body is settled this way, then turn attention to settling your breath, which is the most basic property of the body. The body of breath. Inhale, exhale. Without hurrying, without pushing. Just let breath enter, exit naturally. At the beginning, take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale to illuminate the body. Let this breath go in and clear everything. illuminate and clear the body. Exhale all obscurations, exhale all that is heavy, that is dark. And as you settle your breath, notice how mind also settles. Notice how mind wants to be here, will be here. Put aside, lay aside all that is heavy, all that is busy, all that is distracting. Lay aside all that is unskillful, all that is productive of suffering and stress. At the same time, notice how the settled body and the settled mind is natural, is easy, is what feels at home. When body, breath, and mind are settled and together, that is the most natural place to be dwelling in. Experiencing that, gain more confidence to just lay aside everything else, put aside everything else. In a way you can understand, this is the ultimate laying aside. Then there's the relative laying aside, paying attention to actions of body, speech, and mind. And so for the relative laying aside, now please look at your general laying aside text. The ultimate laying aside is focused on what is natural to body, speech, and mind, and naturally laying aside what is not natural to body, speech, and mind. The relative laying aside is focused on the actions of body, speech, and mind, and how heavy the negative, unskillful actions of body, speech, and mind are, and therefore making a resolve to not keep feeding those habitual patterns of body, speech, and mind that are unskillful, that are only productive of suffering and stress, and instead to make a commitment to adapt, to adopt, and to engage in body, speech, and mind that is karmically productive of happiness and lead us to the causes of happiness as well. Alas, great Guru Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who reside in the 10 directions, and 3 times I, who am called Gunju Yishi Durji, supplicate you, turn your awakened attention to me. From beginningless samsaric time until this very moment, under the power of the afflictive emotions, attachment, aggression, confusion, pride, and jealousy, I have committed the 10 non-virtuous actions through the gates of my body, speech, and mind. I have committed the 5 heinous crimes and the 5 secondary heinous crimes. I have transgressed the individual liberation vows, transgressed the precepts of bodhisattvas, and transgressed the samayas of the great vehicle secret mantra. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards the 3 jewels. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my gurus and teachers. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my father and mother. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my companions in the pure spiritual life. I have abandoned the sublime dharma and disparage the noble Sangha. In short, I now lay aside all faults and transgressions whatsoever that have become obstacles to the higher realms and to liberation, and that have become the cause for samsara and the lower realms before you, the great Guru Vajra holder. And all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and 3 times I expose the faults, I confess them, I am contrite, I regret them. I will not conceal them, I will not hide them. Henceforth I will restrain myself and abstain from them. If I do not expose and lay them aside, they will not be transformed. Therefore, by revealing and laying them aside, may they be cleared, may I be purified. Namo to the mandala of you, victorious Idam deities. I expose, I confess the broken samayas of the Vajra exalted body. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Padma exalted speech. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the perfect exalted mind. 3. I expose and lay aside the broken root and branch samayas. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed knowingly. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed unknowingly. The 3 non-virtues of the body, the 4 non-virtues of speech, the 3 non-virtues of the mind. I confess each of the 10 non-virtues individually. With faultless disciplined conduct, possessing completely pure disciplined conduct, and through the disciplined conduct that is free of arrogance, may the paramita of disciplined conduct be perfected. To glorious Vaja Sattva I pay homage. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Sudokayam Mebo Supokayam Mebo Soba Siddhim Mebo Soba Sudam Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Madhupalaya Basada Denoba Deno Sudokayam Subokayam Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Madhupalaya Basada Denoba Chidamsara Guru How and the red of me was I was in a Bazaraza does a man. Bazarama Japas. Sir was a demajas of a composition. Sato ah Umbazara Sado Samayama. Umbazara does a mayama. Umbazara Sado Samayama. Anora Tomi was I was in the images of a composition. Sado Umbazara Sado Samayama. Allora dove was I was in the images of a composition. How Bagavan Samadana. Do the memoirs of the Umbazara Sado Samayama. Chidamsranguru, how so Tarakata Bezama, Bezibova Mahasamaya Sado, Umbazara Sado Samim. Anora Dome was always in the moment of some comments in Jamaica. The Dome was the Dome of Boy. Umbazara Sado Samay, Madabala. Allora Dome was always in the moment. The Dome was a Dome. The Dome was a Dome. So Chidamsranguru, how Samaya Sato. Think of the Guru, the Vajra holder, dissolving into you. And go back to the ultimate laying aside. Body settled, breath settled, mind settled. Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone again after a short break. So, schedule wise, I am intending for us to do this up to possibly February 6th or February 7th. February 6th should be fine. Then February 7th is actually my travel day. And then we'll be traveling for a couple of days going to Malaysia. From Malaysia, after the Lunar New Year according to the lunar calendar, which in this year, the Tibetan Losar and the East Asian Spring Festival, it's happening basically at the same time. Then after that, I'm taking a group to Bhutan. So once I get to Malaysia, it may be a little tricky for us to do the daily meetings. Well, realistically, I think it'll be tricky. So you all should start planning, that period of time when I am gone. It's a big chunk of time. But if you have been consistent yourself with this program we have, please don't lose your momentum. Perhaps going back to listen to the classes that we have recorded. Right now, I believe we have 50 recordings, actually. So let's see, how much we can do without rushing before I leave on February 7th. So the Fivefold Mahamudra is a special system of practicing Mahamudra, which Kyoba Jigten Sumgun received from his teacher, Drogon Pamudrupa. Drogon Pamudrupa taught Mahamudra in a few different ways to his chief disciples. He taught the Fivefold approach to several students. Then, in particular, Gyoba Jigten Sumgen really greatly emphasized the Fivefold Mahamudra way of practicing Mahamudra. Drogon Pamudrupa had other great disciples, of course, such as one of the founders of the Drupakagyu lineage, Lingrepa. Lingrepa was another great master during that time. And Lingre, I'm pretty sure Lingre himself also received the Fivefold Mahamudra, but Lingre's way of teaching Mahamudra is a different system. Then another disciple of Pamodrupa, in fact, his closest disciple in many ways, is the founder of the Dalong Kagyu, called Dalong Tangpa. Dalong Tangpa also had received from Pamodrupa different ways of practicing Mahamudra, and I'm sure Dalong Tangpa also heard teachings on the Fivefold, but Dalong Tangpa did not teach Mahamudra using the Fivefold way as the main method. So it seemed like Drogon Pamodrupa's disciples, chief disciples, each of them kind of went in the direction of what suited them the best and was most effective for them, and they each transmitted and taught and emphasized the different ways of cultivating Mahamudra that they received from Pamudrupa. And so in our case, in this case, the Fivefold is one that Gyoba Jigten Sumgun emphasized, having received it from his teacher and having he himself practiced it and achieved awakening through this practice. The Fivefold Mahamudra, the main body of the Fivefold, is the section that we are in now. This section on the natural state Mahamudra. This natural state Mahamudra informs in many ways the other four parts, the other four elements. So even though we are practicing, in terms of the practice manual, we are going in a linear way, starting with, of course, the Mahamudra of bodhicitta, then Mahamudra in the aspect of idam, then Mahamudra in the aspect of devotion to the Guru, Mahamudra in the aspect of natural state, and Mahamudra in the aspect of dedication. So even though our practice goes in a linear fashion, in some ways you should also understand that this Fivefold is to be practiced as like a sort of like if you lift up, like a cloth, a piece of cloth. Let's say a square piece of cloth. You lift up this cloth from the table, pull up. So what you're pulling up, you can say where you pinch and pull, that center is the natural state Mahamudra. As you pull that up, the rest of the cloth, the four corners, the four other aspects, they all come up together. Yeah, so you can think of it as that way. So in that sense, I think as we are strengthening, right, as we're cultivating, as we're strengthening those four aspects, bodhicitta Mahamudra, idam Mahamudra, devotion Mahamudra, and dedication Mahamudra, we should practice those four, fully appreciating and understanding the basic principle of Mahamudra, which is explicitly focused on in the natural state Mahamudra section. Likewise, when we are practicing natural state Mahamudra section, we should have an understanding and appreciation for how the other four aspects, the other four right corners of this cloth are also part of this cloth. So don't see these five as separate. And in translating into English, we say fold, fivefold, meaning they are not five separate things, and they are five aspects of one thing. So, in Tibetan, if you want the names, is Changsem, Chakchen. Changsem is bodhicitta. Then Idam, Chakchen. Chakchen is Mahamudra, short for Chagya Chenpo. Chagya Chenpo. So you have Changsem, Chakchen. And then you have Idam, Chakchen. And then you have Mogu, Chakchen. Mogu is devotion. Mogu, Chakchen. And then you have now, the section we are in is called Neluk Chakchen. And then Ngo, Ngoa Chakchen, which is dedication, Chakchen. Neluk Chakchen. This term Neluk can be translated and should be translated slightly differently depending on context, where it is used. Neluk. Often, when this term turns up in philosophical texts, where the debate or the writings or the focus is on the nature of reality, the nature of phenomena, and the appearance of phenomena. So in discussions of the two truths, so this discussion of the two truths, the ultimate truth and the relative truth. So in the Buddhist philosophical traditions, sometimes called the tenet systems, where reasoning and logic are the primary means of helping us gain some understanding of the status of realities, the status of things. Then they discuss the two truths. Then in the Indo-Tibetan tradition, the tradition that evolved in India, highly developed in such great institutions of learning like Nalanda and Vikramasila, ancient Indian Buddhist universities. Over time, different kind of philosophical schools, traditions were recognized. There were many of these traditions, but eventually, in late Indian Buddhism, it is generally said that there are four main philosophical traditions, systems. So they are known as the Vaibhashika, Sautrantika. These are Sanskrit terms. Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, and then Chittamatra and Madhyamaka. So Vaibhashika is named after this one Abhidharma text called the Great Exposition. So sometimes Vaibhashika is translated as particularists. Particularists. Then Sautrantika are those, literally they mean followers of Sutra. Why they're called followers of Sutra? Because they say that your main reliance should be on the sutras and not on the Abhidharma, which is the first tradition. The first tradition kind of anchors their understanding of particularly the issue of relative and ultimate truth based on treaties, Abhidharma treatises. The second position say, no, We should focus primarily on the sutra sources, so that people call them followers of sutra. And these two traditions are considered to be the lesser vehicle philosophical system, because they do not explicitly advocate the path of bodhisattvas. And so then those who follow the path of bodhisattvas refer to them as the lesser vehicle philosophical systems. And then under the greater vehicle, those who advocate and strongly advocate the path of bodhisattvas, there are two also, called the Chittamatra, which is the mind only or only mind philosophical tradition, and then the middle way, Madhyamaka. This is a big footnote. So it is in those traditions, when they write about themselves, when they debate each other, that principally what their debates are on, what they are talking, whether amongst themselves or talking across traditions, or sometimes debating across traditions, often they are debating relative and ultimate truths. What is relative truth? What is ultimate truth? What is the relationship between relative truth and ultimate truth? And on and on and on and on, and all the finer details of it. So much so that in the West, we may be saying, when we read about some of this, we may be saying, oh, they are splitting hair, right? In English, we have a expression, oh, you're splitting hairs. But I found a reference in these traditions where it's saying, totally independent of, totally nothing, known about this English expression of splitting hairs. In the English, when we say splitting hair, we mean that as an insult, like what a complete waste of time, you're splitting hair. I found a reference in Indian Buddhist philosophical debates where they are using it in the opposite way. They're saying, you have not yet split the hair. How can you even come and talk about this? So they pride themselves in splitting hair. It's not only that, it's like, oh, you can only like split, hair into two parts. Oh, not subtle enough yet. There are actually 9 parts that you can split. Then someone will come along and say, I can split 21 parts, because ultimately, right, whether 7 parts, 9 parts, 21 parts, 10,000 parts, the main point is that the mind is such a subtle, momentary phenomena. Sometimes we talk about mind, because in English, we have singular, plural nouns. Mind, minds. Most of the time, remember that when we say mind, know that it could be plural, it could be singular, depending on which aspects of mind we're talking about. Gilbert Rinpoche says, mind is continuous, but mind is momentary. Basic, actually. It's a Buddha's position. Mind is continuous, uninterrupted, but momentary. And each of these moments are like hair split into 1,000 parts. I don't think we need to get into arguments of, is it 1,000? Is it 999? Is it 9? The point being, whenever you think, oh, this is mine, and know that, oh, this is a gross understanding of mind. So until in the Mahasiddha tradition, instead of saying, oh, the 7th part, the 1/7th part of the mind, or the 1/1000th part of the mind, they say, mind is ungraspable. That is the take-home lesson. And that is the real message we need to have. We need to get. Mind is ungraspable. You cannot deny that mind, or you need not, and you should not deny there is mind. Without mind, what is this all about? Right? But at the same time, this mind is ungraspable. So subtle, ungraspable. And it is with this mind, it is this mind that we're particularly working with when we cultivate the natural state Mahamudra. So this big footnote is not done yet. It all started with this expression, natural state. Neluk. In the philosophical debates, Neluk is talking about, literally is translated, so in English you'll come across, if you read enough of these types of writings, the mode of abiding. Look is tradition. That's also used in when people talk about tradition. Look. Ne look is ne is to abide. It's the same word that you find in calm abiding. Shi ne, right? I'm sure many of you are familiar, especially the Tibet house crowd. Shi ne, calm abiding. It's the same ne. Shi ne, calm abiding. So ne look is tradition, or in this context, the mode of abiding. How does it abide? What is it? It could be mind, a moment of mind. It could be a thing that you're looking at, something that you're experiencing. So whether the experiencer of or that which is experienced, how does it abide? That's Neluk, the mode of abiding. And often when they discuss the mode of abiding, then they are discussing ultimate truth. Then there is the mode of appearance. How does it appear? And so much of the philosophical energy of Buddhism, of Indo-Tibetan Buddhism, Nalanda tradition, Vikramasila, is in these kind of debates and discussions on what is the relationship. First of all, how does something stay? How do they abide? So the four systems will say, oh, they abide in this way, they abide in that way, and they have all these debates. Then, how do they appear? Again, they appear this way, they appear that way, and then next, what is the relationship between how they appear and how they abide? Are they completely separate? Or there is a link between the two? Then a lot of debates. So when in the Mahamudra tradition, in Chakchen, when we say Neluk Chakchen, which is I translate as natural state Mahamudra, but it could also be translated, but then I think it will turn it into too, heady. If we say the mode of abiding Mahamudra. But there is some merit in translating this as the mode of abiding Mahamudra. Because now we want to know, we know that we are training in understanding how does the mind exist. When we say abide is also, you could translate as exist. How does it exist? In what ways it exists? Mode of abiding. But there are limitations to translating it as mode of abiding, because here we are not just training with mode of abiding. We're also training with mode of appearance, how it appears. So in fact, what is discussed and debated in the philosophical traditions among those scholars is fully trained in this section, but not through debate, not through discussion, but through contemplation and through being led through these understandings by directly experiencing these qualities, these aspects of mind, these aspects of both the perceiving subject, the perceived objects, and the relationship between subject and object. And in this way, fully and completely and thoroughly understanding the nature of reality. So this is at the core of this fourth of the fivefold Mahamudra, the natural state Mahamudra. So this natural state has an aspect of how it is, and also has the aspect of how it appears. So both actually, if you put it in the vocabulary of the philosophical system, not just the mode of abiding, but also the mode of appearance. And particularly, not necessarily in the fivefold Mahamudra manuals, but elsewhere, the mode of appearance is also training with experiences of happiness, experiences of suffering, experiences of suffering in terms of physical illness, experiences of suffering in terms of emotional turmoil. All of those are used as areas of training. Some of you have already been exposed to, I've taught Gampopa's teachings to the assembly. And in there, right, how to train with illness, how to treat suffering. Remember the two armors? The outer armor of view, the inner armor of wisdom. So those are different training points in contemplating and experiencing and relating to especially difficult experiences. Over time, the Mahamudra tradition in the Dapo Kagyu family, the Kagyu family that trace their roots back to Gampopa, they will also, how to take happiness, how to take sublime mystical states of experiences, and even, you could say, cut through them, see through them, and understanding how they are in the end. No different from experiences of suffering and misery. So in that way, you become free from chasing after sublime experiences and running away from miserable experiences. And freedom and liberation is experienced when we are able to do that. But don't get too theoretical. Don't just up in the head, walking around with these big ideas, and no way to experience this. So when we rely on the path in this way, we take into experience this word that we normally translate as practice, nyamlen. It's much more elegant in the Tibetan and much more pointing to what we mean when we say practice. Yes, there is the aspect of practice where one of the great Zen masters that came to the U.S., Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, his most famous book is a compilation of talks that he gave, published as Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. I would say that's one of the all-time classics of American Buddhism, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. There, one chapter, the title is Repetition is the Spirit of Practice. Coming back to again and again and again. Repetition is the spirit of practice is totally in agreement with Kyoba Rinpoche's way of expressing it as meditation is not meditation, meditation is habituation. To familiarize, to habituate that nature which you have been introduced to, right? That understanding that you have been introduced to. Right? Now you have to shape your habits, your heart, alongside this nature that you have been shown, this nature that you have gained some understanding about. And that is what the path or the practice consists of. So, so remember, right? When we do this section, when we are cultivating the section on the natural state Mahamudra, right? In the Fivefold system, you should begin first by generating bodhicitta. So even if it is just a few moments of bringing bodhicitta to mind. So bodhicitta having the aspect of loving kindness. From loving kindness, compassion becomes more natural, and compassion that arises need not have the faults of emotionalism, need not have the faults of compassion fatigue, if it is really arising in the right sequence. And the Buddha taught it that. So when I was in Peru, the first weekend I was there, I did a program on the four immeasurables. I think it's a very helpful program, regardless of what you're practicing. I encourage you, if you didn't attend that, now it's available on the Dragong Dhammakirti YouTube channel on the four immeasurables. So please, listen to that. And the recording, of course, has the Spanish and English together. So I may see if anyone has, we try not to give Jeff so much work. If any of you have the inspiration and the facility in working with technology, if you're good, don't start learning now. Better to put your effort in training the mind. But if you have those skills, we could use the skill of someone, maybe also creating videos where, the Spanish and the English is separated. Just, kind of putting it out there. Anyway, that set of teachings, makes very clear that in the training of the four immeasurables, training in loving kindness is primary. When we really train in metta, that can give rise to training in compassion that doesn't have side effects. Then from compassion, training in compassion, how joy is a necessary kind of balancing factor. And all of these three needs to be embraced with the training in understanding that arises from training in non-bias equanimity. So anyway, here in the Fivefold Mahamudra, we give rise to bodhicitta, the desire to achieve Buddhahood, and a commitment to cultivating what's necessary to achieve that, all based on the power of the compassion that we have cultivated, which is in turn based on the loving kindness that we have cultivated. And loving kindness and compassion needs to be cultivated based on equanimity, the stabilizing factor. So from training in loving kindness arises training in compassion. When these two become deep and broad, then bodhicitta can be stronger and stronger. And then this bodhicitta takes on the appearance, manifests as idam, yourself, and now meeting your original face, we say, meaning your fundamental identity as Buddha. So in the form of an idam, a meditation deity, a deity that you identify with. Of course, in the Fivefold system, the main deity use tends to be Chakasamvara. And there are many aspects of Chakasamvara training, which is the way that it is. It is the way it is because many individuals in the past have used this particular image, used this particular expression of Buddhahood, and have found it to be effective. So we also, for the purposes of training, we adopt this deity. But also know that sometimes each of us have our own naturally inclined towards form of deity. Perhaps it's Buddha Shakyamuni. Perhaps it's the Lord of Compassion, Avalokiteshvara. Perhaps it's the Buddha of Wisdom, Manjushri, in the peaceful form or in the wrathful form of the Slayer of Death, Yamantaka. Or in the form of Hevajra, and so on and so forth. But don't create false problems. Meaning don't, but I don't want to practice Chaka Samvara because my idam is so and so. And then you are engaged in, sports partiality, My team is Real Madrid, and not, the other team, And then this is or Chicago Bulls, Okay, don't ask me more. That's the limit of my knowledge of sports. Random names, But who is actually competing with who? No idea. I may even give you names of, soccer teams competing with, basketball teams. But don't, fall into these false problems, I said, but I want it to be Tara and not Chakasamvara, Then you don't understand what's going on. If you understand what's going on, even like you say, oh, Tara is really my idam. You know how to practice Chakasamvara to enhance your Tara identity. Like Kyoba Rinpoche, again and again, you'll see in his collected teachings, he will say, Avalokiteshvara is my idam. Yet when he teaches the Fivefold Mahamudra, he tends to say, Chakasamvara. When he teaches Yogas and Naropa, it's Vajavarahi. If you know how to train, Then training in Vajavarahi, training in Jagasamvara, training in, whatever deity enhances your naturally kind of heartfelt identity with Avalokiteshvara or Tara, yeah, or Manjushri. No contradiction at all. If you don't understand, then, oh, but I'm this, I'm that. I don't feel connected to. Then this is all just fandom, not idam practice, fandom. So watch out for that. Then on the basis of clarifying yourself as a Buddha through the practice of idam, you now learn to perceive, first and foremost, your Dharma guides as Buddha. On the ultimate level, your Dharma guides are Buddha in the same way as all sentient beings are Buddha, right? Your Dharma guides, and within the realm of Dharma guides, some are those who teach us in a more general sense. Others are those whom we have formed a bond with, we feel a closeness to. And perhaps these are the ones that will lead us to some understanding of this natural state, this nature of mind. And to those we particularly refer to as the gurus, the lama. So we train to see these guides as Buddha. But even as we're doing that, we should not forget, it's not the case that only they are Buddhas. We first, through idam, have been training in perceiving ourselves and appearing ourselves as Buddha. And now we look out and we say, what am I seeing out here? Well, first of all, see the guru, see the guide as Buddha. Because in the ultimate from the ultimate perspective, they are Buddhas. Furthermore, not only they are Buddhas, but all sentient beings without exception. From the least qualified person to teach you to the most qualified person to teach and guide you, they are all equally Buddhas. Don't ever forget that, even as you're training with, like seeing your Dharma guides as Buddha. Don't forget that. It's just that the logical first point to train in is to train in the relation to the ones whom, for whatever reason, you are inspired to follow as Dharma guides. So as you do that, primarily, at least at the level that you and I can, I think, appreciate, is that so that when they give instructions on this nature of mind, this natural state, we can suspend disbelief and be willing to be introduced to seeing the subtleties of mind. As a practical thing, don't suspend disbelief. Don't feel like you need to suspend disbelief when the guru mysteriously or even strangely or shockingly tells you to jump off a cliff. There, no need to suspend disbelief. There you say, oh, great teacher, oh, wonderful teacher. Today is a little bit inconvenient for me to jump off the cliff. Maybe sometime in the future. Okay, bye-bye, and you can go. Then also no need to, go tell everybody, did you know what she told me today? Leave that alone, like whatever is the reason that she just told me to jump off the cliff, there, don't suspend disbelief, just say, oh, yes, But today is a little bit inconvenient. I have a 3 o'clock appointment. People will be waiting for me. So, okay, bye bye. Go away. Mm. But we should suspend disbelief, doubt. When she says, look directly at your mind now. What is the shape? What is the color? That is when you have to follow. And even if you're like, no, it's not, but have faith. That is the proper place to have faith, to suspend doubt. Uh, Sort of like, you remember all of us, when we were kids, yeah? And even now, maybe some of us still have kid-like behavior. One of the things about uh, kid context is, it seems to me, watching my godkids, there are periods of time where they are very suspicious of food. And you ask them, try it, try it, try it, Like, no, 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 no. Try it. It's really good. And then the same kid, 10 years later, you're like, try it, and they try. Yeah, I like, This is like being introduced to Mahamudra, natural state. We're kid-like, No, 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 no. But our resistance is more sophisticated. We won't just go, ew, 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 I don't want. But watch for the doubts, and trust. Trust and try. You can more quickly taste it and appreciate the taste. Oh, this is really good. In that way. That's the purpose of mogu, of devotion. At least in this level, there are deeper ways of understanding this mogu, this devotion. But just talk maybe not so useful. At the level that we can appreciate this mogu, this devotion, is to suspend this disbelief or this resistance to tasting what the guide is trying to help us taste and appreciate, specifically in relation to the nature of afflictive emotions, of kleshas, and the nature of mind. We should have devotion. We should have faith, confidence, and not resist so strongly. So again, right? With regards to instructions to jump off the cliff, just, oh yeah, thank you. And back away, back away, back away, back away. Then leave. Yeah. Less dramatic than jumping off the cliff, Then maybe not, Then when it's about the nature of affliction, the burdensome nature of afflictions, the liberating nature of putting aside afflictions, you have to obey. You have to obey. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. Page 45. If within the sky-like expanse of mind as such, the accumulated clouds of conceptualities have not dispersed, the planets and stars of twofold knowledge will not shine. Attend earnestly, therefore, to this non-conceptual mind. This non-conceptual mind is also this nature of mind, the very nature of our mind. And so this stanza, the mind, the mind or the nature of mind or mind as such, mind itself, mindness, mind as such, is just one way of translating. It's just, one way of translating semni. Semni is there's sem and semni. Is ni is like ness, mind, mindness. But then here, mind as such or mind as it is. So in the Thai forest tradition, sometimes this is called heart and activities of the heart. Activities of the heart is the proliferation, the appearances. Heart is mind itself, mind as such. So this mind itself, this nature of mind, is analogized with space, sky. When we sky, Tibetan namka, this is namka, that is also namka. You look up in the sky, but it also means this, space. Space and sky, same word. Sometimes expanse is a different word, but they're all synonymous in showing that insofar as the nature of mind, there are no parts, there are no limits. So sky or space used as an analogy. But here the analogy is much more literally, it's sky, because clouds and sun and moon comes in this metaphor here. So here it is sky. Okay, so now the expanse of sky, mind nature, mind itself, the heart itself, its nature, it's like the nature of sky. So what do you see when you look up in the sky? In the daytime, you see clouds, you see sun. In the nighttime, you see stars, you see moon, you see the constellations. You may see clouds if there's enough illumination from the moon. So that's the analogy here. So then, here Gilpa is saying, the nature of mind itself, is, you should understand it. Its nature is like the skylight nature, looking up, the unending expanse. It's also hard to point to and say, there, that is that part of the sky, and that is that part of the sky. You can't really do that. Or even when you do that, you're pointing at something, but you're pointing at nothing in particular. It's not like you can even come up with an agreement with your friend, like that square over there, I own, okay, and that square over there is yours. 20 minutes later, what square where. We know instinctively, even if for that moment you could say, that square over there and that square over there. But all these are very temporary, because the sky-like nature doesn't make sense to be fixated on this square over that square, or this triangle over that rectangle. These are all temporary designation. Now within the sky there are clouds. You can see that there are clouds. So these clouds are represent conceptualities. Conceptualities is Buddhist technical term for what we could say all your thoughts, all your feelings, all your emotions. These are all conceptualities. Namto, namto, conceptualities, conceptual thoughts, also translated as that. Conceptualities, conceptualizations, all thoughts, all feelings, all experiences are mostly all just namto. So these conceptualizations, it says here, if they have not been dispersed, if they have not been cleared away, then the constellations, the sun, the moon, the stars, you cannot see them shine more literally, even though the song says they will not shine. Of course, Kyaba Rinpoche is not saying the natural innate wisdom, the Buddha qualities are not shining. They are shining, but you will not see their light. You will not see the constellations. Just like in the daylight, if there are lots of clouds, right, you know, above the clouds is the sun, and it's very sunny, and it's great. But on a day like this in Asheville, I don't know what it is like in wherever you are, but right now in Western North Carolina, you could say, oh, it's such a bleak day. Because we are so fixated, you know. Even though logically, rationally, we know it's shiny, it's sunny, but you're on the wrong side, so to say, you know. You're underneath the clouds and your mood also goes down. But the sun is there. And even your blue sky, which you saw a lot when you went to Colorado, when you went to Tibet. I still remember, you know, the first time I never saw such a striking blue sky in my life until I came to the US. And even that I didn't really see because first couple of years I was in Pennsylvania, you know, where famously in that part of Pennsylvania, we call it English weather. So not because of pollution, at least not back then, you know, never really saw. And then one summer I spent it in Colorado, you know, in Boulder area. Wow. That blue, you know. Then later when I went to graduate school, even though it's further south, in Charlottesville, Virginia, it's like, wow, that blue, you know. So now even in this dreary day, cloudy, English weather, that blue sky, you know, has it gone somewhere else? Where did the blue go? Did someone come and like erase the blue? No. Where did the blue go? The blue didn't go anywhere. It's there. The sun didn't go anywhere. It's there. You want to see the blue? You want to see the sun? These accumulated clouds of conceptualities have to clear first. So, we need to develop an appreciation of this. If you don't like the cloudy day, days on end without being able to see the blue sky and the sun. If you don't like that, move to Colorado. No. If you don't like that, then what do you need to do? It says here, attend earnestly to the non-conceptual mind. Interestingly. And without forcing this Vajra song too much, you can see here it says, it points out, right? Because there are clouds, so you don't see the planets and stars that are shining. But then as solution, the fourth line, it's not really saying, now get a big machine to blast away the clouds, right? Right? Instead, it says, attend to the non-conceptual mind. So instead, it's saying, gain trust. At first, it's trust. And so then the guru can help shove you in that direction. Try it, try it, try it. No, no, no. Try it, try it. No, no. I don't like. The guru can push you in the direction of, can you see this nature of mind? So this non-conceptual mind is just a different word for earlier in this Vajra, in this stanza, mind as such, mindness, semni. Attend to that. Focus on that. So semmi tok. Tok is the nam tok, conceptualizations. Mi tok is no conceptualization, non-conceptual. Attend to that. Pay attention to that. Focus on that. Now, when we do it in the right sequence, instead of trying to find a big cloud blasting, I don't know, cloud blasting guns to shoot away all the clouds. It says, attend to the blue sky, the sunny sky, the nature of sky. Attend to, pay attention to, maybe at first trust in. When you do that first, then naturally the accumulated clouds may clear. Just as, so using the analogy, tomorrow the clouds may be gone. When the clouds are gone, don't be overjoyed. Yay! Also hold steady. Because you know, when conditions conspire again, what happens? The clouds return. Overall, when you begin to hold steady, then clouds, no clouds, You're always resting in the sky-like expanse of mind as such. How do you do that? So now we are at the part of the manual where there is the step by step. I hope some of you have actually uh, been able to experience a little bit of the first set of instructions given on page 47. Properly assume the physical posture of the 7 points of Vairocana. Then, as instructed above, take refuge and generate bodhicitta. So taking refuge, and even if you remember Vajrasattva, Mandala offering, these are the common preliminaries. Then generate bodhicitta, that is the special preliminary. And all of this you can consider as the first of the fivefold Mahamudra. Then visualize your body, see your body as appearing in the form of idam. That is the second fold of Mahamudra. Cultivate the Guru, bring awareness, bring recollection of the presence of Guru, of guidance, of what the Guru said about the mind. Recollect that. That's called cultivating the Guru. Make offerings to the Guru from your heart and supplicate and pray to the Guru to lead you to seeing more and more clearly this sky-like nature of mind. Then at your heart center, this is the first instruction given on cultivating the natural state Mahamudra. Then at your heart center. So this is part of the equipoise on the basis of, with science, cultivating samadhi, cultivating steadiness of heart, which is what samadhi is. Steadying the heart. Steadying the heart by training with science and without science. So starting with science, starting with characteristics, a blue bindu the size of a mustard seed. Mustard seed, some of you may not have seen it before. Basically, like sesame seed. I think you've seen that. But round. Sesame seed has its particular shape. Mustard seed is round, about the size of a sesame seed, but round, which is what a mustard seed then is, blue color at the center of your heart, of Chakasamvara, heart, Yab Yung, Father, Lord and Lady. So inside the heart of the Lord, a blue bindu, endowed with light, and cultivate that. 48, when a good state of steadying, of samadhi arises, when you feel like, it's really settling, then relax in the natural state. And what does this mean? You may not know yet what this natural state is, but you know what not holding the object of focus, rest for a little while, meaning you can let go of the bindu and just ease into it. Relax. Then, as that good state of steadying the heart seems to be fluttering, go back to again the bindu at the heart and cultivate that bindu. Then the instructions, when thoughts arise, do not follow them. So you have to say, stop. Don't go with them. Don't go with planning lunch, planning what to say at the meeting at 10 o'clock. Stop. Place the mind in the blue bindu. Instead, direct your mind to that very bindu. Practice this in 4 sessions. So these instructions are clearly given to people who have set aside a time. So the rest of the day are divided into 4 parts, 4 sessions of cultivating this blue bindu. Finally, let even the bindu itself become non-referential, meaning finally at the end of the session, release the bindu and understand that the bindu is only temporarily arising, and where it has come from, now it has go back into, which is the sky-like nature of mind. And just rest there. This is attending earnestly to this non-conceptual mind. And if we were in the format of a group retreat, now after the instruction at the Dharma hall, you all go back to your cabins, go back to your huts, go back to your room, and the rest of the day you do this. Meet for lunch, clean up after lunch, then go back and leisurely, but earnestly, but leisurely, you'll practice this in the afternoon. In the evening, you may come back together and share not so much debate or anything, but you may come together over, afternoon tea and share about, these came up, that came up. And then the next day, again, the instructions, again, some Dharma points. Then again, going back to our own spaces and cultivating this, working on this. So that was, I would say, the model used in the early Kagyu, in the early history of the Kagyupas. That's daily. This is daily life, like this. Not much of ritual, not much of philosophical studies, but attending to a simplified daily life, minimizing. And still, there are spaces to clean, and doing the cleaning with devotion, knowing that the cleaning makes the space more attractive to people who may come, who may visit, doing the cleaning, doing the cooking, knowing that the food is going to nourish, all those practicing together, eating with appreciation, doing dishes, thinking of it as the cleaning of the mind, the clearing of confusion. So those like daily trainings become more and more important and significant. At the beginning, it feels like a duty, a chore, and a burden. But now, through sincere practice and understanding, that begins to change, that begins to evolve. Then the way you serve others and the way you receive the service of others fall increasingly out of the system of exchange that we have habituated, the kind of capitalist exchange system, which gives rise, when things slightly goes wrong, gives rise to resentment or gives rise to kind of entitlement, the push and pull, right? The opposites of this. How our lives can be transformed, our actions. There is a point, in attending to affairs of life where it has gone too much in the wrong direction. So the monastic life, or at least the life organized around a spiritual community, residential, and now I'm talking maybe promoting, this forest hermitage idea, is to provide an environment where the necessities of maintaining community, the necessities of maintaining a practice space is identified to the right amount of attention. But even all of that work of maintaining, you begin to see more and more that is action bodhicitta. Then you have formal sessions. So 2 hours in the morning, 2 sessions depending on what kind of service that you are engaging in the community. Then again 2 in the afternoon, so 4 sessions. 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. That's the 4 sessions. In between is attending to affairs of life with meaning, with appreciation. Okay, so today, talk too much, but good to be back. Good to see all of you. We'll meet again tomorrow. Then now, let's go to dedication, which is page 78. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me in the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtues, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Changju Semcho Rinpoche Ma Ge Ba Na Ge Gyu Che Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Go Ne Gong Du Bel Wa Shu. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lai. Welcome back.